You know, if one thing came out of this movie, if one good thing came out of this movie, it's that Dwayne Johnson gets to turn back into The Rock again. You get it? You get it? Because the curse, it turns him to stone.
Ah, waka waka!
Yeah, you know what? It's better than any of the other puns in this movie. This movie is light on funny and heavy on punny. Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about yet another Disney movie that takes one of their rides from their theme parks and turns it into a movie, which really, honestly, I thought that they were trying to create another franchise here, a la, Pirates of the Caribbean. But I do have to say this, I don't know if that's going to happen. Not because I don't know, not just because I don't know how it's going to do at the theaters. Granted, if it does well at the theaters, they'll probably try to force a new story out of this. But honestly, I thought this was kind of a complete story. But we'll get to that in a minute. Today, we are going to be talking about Disney's Jungle Cruise, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt. If you don't want anything spoiled, I will say this. The movie's okay. If this movie ends up being just one standalone film, that's probably for the best. I feel like they crammed so much into this one. It's like, where are you going to go from here? And I honestly thought the movie had a very decent, I'll say decent, ending that was very definitive. It didn't really lend itself to, hey, there could be more adventures. That being said, I could see them trying to force a new adventure on our main characters in this. I don't highly recommend this one. I think it doesn't really hold up to like the original Pirates, but it doesn't try to. It does. At least it has that kind of fun of the original Pirates. It doesn't take itself too seriously, like say the later Pirates movies did. This movie borrows a lot from other better movies. Again, it borrows things from, like, at least the way it feels from Pirates. It borrows things from Indiana Jones and other adventure movies you've seen before. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. So I don't highly recommend it. I definitely don't recommend paying $30 on Disney Plus for, which you can watch this on the premium Disney Plus thing. I would say wait for it to show up on Disney Plus for free. If you really need a movie to take kids to, this one isn't bad. It's just not great either. What this movie is about is you have an adventurer played by Emily Blunt. This is, I believe it said it was 2 years into World War I. And one thing you learn about Emily Blunt's character, and they force it down your throat a little too much, is she's progressive. She wears pants and not dresses, and she wants to do things that women can't do. Look, I don't have a problem with progressive women characters, especially again, this one's taking place during World War I. I don't have a problem with characters like that. You just don't need to cram it down our throats. You could be more clever about it. I mean, they nickname her Pants throughout this entire movie. Pants. But anyway, she wants to go on this adventure, and her and her brother, she uses her brother to kind of speak for her because, women can't speak during these, women should be in the kitchen times, right? And he's trying to get them to fund this expedition to give her this artifact she needs to find this mystical land that has a mystical tree that has mystical flowers that can cure all ills. So they don't, of course, go for it. So she decides, well, I'm just going to steal this artifact anyway. It's this arrowhead. So she steals it. All the while, I guess you just call him a German officer because we're talking World War I and not World War II. Here's where some of the Indiana Jones stuff comes in. If this were World War II, he'd be a Nazi. and he's basically a Nazi. He's after the artifact because it'll help Germany win the war. Sound familiar? So anyway, he wants this artifact so he can find this tree. And of course, Emily Blunt gets it first. They end up getting to their destination, and they need long story short, they need a boat. They end up with Dwayne Johnson's character, Frank. And they end up on the adventure. So you have the probably would be a Nazi in the future after them. But also we find out that earlier in time, the conquistadors were trying to find this as well, and they end up being cursed, and they're in the jungle. So, of course, just like Barbossa and his pirates, you're going to have cursed villains there as well. So, you've got two sets of cursed villains. You technically also have a third villain. Paul Giamatti is in this at the beginning and at the end. He really isn't of much consequence. You think he's going to be more of a factor, but he's not. But he is kind of entertaining, at least. He wants to own all the boats in this town, and the only one he doesn't have is the rocks. So, and he's a bit silly, but he is entertaining. Paul Giamatti, always entertaining anyway, but he's not in it very much. And Edgar Ramirez plays the main conquistador as well. So your characters are set up, and the whole thing is them going on this journey, and you have Emily Blunt and her brother have their reasons, and of course we find out later that Dwayne Johnson's character has his reasons, and of course we know why the would-be Nazi wants it, and we know why the conquistador wants to get into this place as well. So they all have reasons to find this tree. As I said before, this movie's just okay. It feels like, again, it's just taking beats from other movies. While okay, you've got an action movie here, and I have to say that the majority of the action, and this is one of the movie's weak points, the majority of the action is kind of bland. It's just kind of there to be there. I mean, is it neat to see a submarine going after this steamship? Sure, but a lot of the times, they're when the action happens, it's just, it's okay. It's not helped by the CG of the movie. One of the main characters, technically, we'll just say one of the main characters technically is all CG. Now, granted, some of the CG's okay, like whenever they show Edgar Ramirez's character, like anytime he gets cut, like snakes come out of the wounds and stuff, that stuff's okay, but a lot of times the snakes look fake, and you thought I had a problem with snakes after watching Snake Eyes. But yeah, the CG doesn't help the action, and they just, neither of them are very good. A lot of the CG just looks fake, and again, this quote-unquote character that is in a lot of the movie, I know you couldn't have used the real creature, but, you know, it's less risky, we'll just say, but the creature itself is just, doesn't always look real. And sometimes it emotes like a human, and look, this isn't the Lion King. This isn't a cartoon. This is supposed to be real life. So it's hard for me to, you know, it's not like this creature talks or anything and that it emotes. It just kind of emotes sometimes a way a human would. And it just, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I mean, granted, I know I'm talking about a movie about mystical flowers and you know, jungle, you know, cursed jungle conquistadors and things like that, but it's still, you want a little bit of realism in your adventure. When it comes to and I'm going to get in a bit of spoiler territory here. When it comes into the chemistry between Blunt and Johnson, they're fine. Their chemistry is fine, but they, for the story's sake, need their chemistry to be off the charts because, spoiler, there's a romance a bloomin', and man, I did not buy it 1 second. The romance plot of this is pointless. Pointless. They could have just been friends. And look, I like The Rock. I like Emily Blunt. I just didn't think they had good chemistry romantically together. Now, their banter, just being silly and stuff like that, granted, I could have done without all the puns from The Rock. Granted, they do treat his humor as cringy, so his puns are very cringy, and the movie says so, except Emily Blunt's character's brother loves them, so of course he's got an audience, and he's going to keep telling them. But their chemistry romantically is a big plot point in this, and it did not work at all. Oh, and speaking of puns, and I'm talking about the end of the movie here, it ends on a pun. And it's like, come on, really? Is that the humor we're going for? And that's another thing. Movie's just not that funny when it's trying to be. I'm not saying it's ever unintentionally funny or anything. It's not like stuff happens that's supposed to be serious, except for when The Rock falls from far distances. In a way, it's kind of funny, and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a serious spot of, oh my god, he's dead. But it's just kind of funny. It's kind of like in Titanic, when the person's falling and they like hit part of the ship and it goes dong, and it's just like you can't help but laugh. It's kind of like that here. So yeah, the movie's not that funny. Again, it just feels like it's taking beats from other things, and it's just not that interesting. I mean, you know exactly where it's gonna go. There's no real threat of danger in this, because even when you think they're in danger or you think someone might die, you know they're not gonna. It's just one of those kind of movies. And I will say this about it, though. I think if Disney were smart, they would leave it alone after this. They had as many problems as I had with this movie. At least it technically wrapped everything up. They do not have any kind of tease or anything like that for any sequel. You know, they don't show, oh, the villain's still around or anything like that. Especially Jesse Plemons' quote-unquote Nazi character. He ain't coming back. We'll just say it like that. So there's a definitive ending. There's a definitive character arc for our main characters and everything. So it at least felt like it had closure, and they did have, other than the romance, they did have decent, at least friendship character development between Johnson and Blunt's characters. They also introduce that Emily Blunt's character's brother is gay, and they talk about why he'll follow her anywhere. It's because in a time when that wasn't accepted, she stood up for him anyway, and she loves him no matter what, and that's actually kind of cool. I like that they put that in there. I really thought they were gonna maybe tease a romance for him. If it would have been my guess, it would have been with Paul Giamatti's character, but they don't really do anything. Maybe for a sequel if it happens. Please don't let it happen. I just don't see this. I could see, since you have Emily Blunt's character being like this big adventurer, I could see them maybe doing more, but for me it doesn't work, because the whole point of Johnson's character, okay, big spoiler here. Let's just say he's been around for a long time, and there's a point in this movie where he's ready to die, and then they force the romance, and then now he wants to be here. So maybe you could say he wants to, go on adventures with her or something, but it just, I think they should just stop it here. Look, Disney, if Disney was smart, they would end the cruise here. Again, I don't really highly recommend this movie. See it for as cheap as possible. You could probably wait till it shows up on Disney Plus without the premium, and you would be maybe satisfied watching at home. Kids are probably going to like a lot of the silliness of the movie, so that is a plus. At least the kids would get a giggle out of it. But as a whole, it's it's a decently pleasing movie, but there was just a lot of things that didn't work for me in this, and I just don't think they should continue it from here. See you later.